I'm back. Will Terry here, and how you doing, guys? Today I'm going to answer the question, or I'm going to start answering the question, can a guy get his children's book published? Before I get into that, you can always contact me on Twitter. You can contact me on Facebook. Just send me a friend request, and let's kind of just dive into this. So what I'm going to do is you'll notice that this is part one. This is going to be an ongoing series. I have no idea where it's going to take us. It's a leap of faith. It's kind of scary to start a series not knowing how it's going to end up or anything like that. But I'm a true believer that those things that are not comfortable, those things that are not easy, actually help us to grow more than anything else. So I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to throw myself out there and try to do something that I have no idea what the outcome is going to be. It's scary, but it's going to be fun, and I want you to come along for the ride. So, what am I actually going to do? I've been working on an idea for quite some time. Actually, not that long. Probably about maybe 2 or 3 months. Probably closer to 3 months. And I've written a story, and I want to get it published. So this series is actually going to be about that process, the start to finish, and I'm going to talk about some of it tonight or on this video. And then each time I get an update, I'm going to update you with what I know. They're not going to follow in order, so I'm not going to stop giving advice on my blog, so don't get freaked out if you see the following video totally unrelated. It doesn't mean I've given up on this idea. It just means I don't have anything to report. And I don't want to start something and give you reports that don't actually have any meat in them. So just whenever there's a part 2, there's a part 2 and a part 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. Okay, and I'm issuing a challenge to Mr. Jake Parker, and he's my business partner on svslearn.com. And I'm going to issue him a challenge to do the exact same thing starting now with the book that he's already got under contract. So I have a children's book idea, I have the story written, and I'm working on the art. He has a contract for a children's book that he's already sold, that he wrote, and he's started to do the art. And what I'm challenging you to do, Mr. Jake Parker, is to talk about the process on your vlog. And if you haven't checked out his, it is amazing. So you guys know that I don't edit my videos. I just kind of throw them out there, and that's to save time. And I've apologized for that before, and I'll apologize again. They're not the most beautiful videos, but what I do try to do is give you good information. Jake does the same thing. He gives really good information, but he spends all day editing, and so more power to him. They're beautiful, and they're amazing videos, and he's gaining a lot of traction. And if you like what I'm doing, I know you'll love what he's doing. So send him a comment and make him do the same thing, because I think what he has to offer with actually maybe talking about the process of actually doing it and working with an editor, I think that is super valuable and super helpful. So hopefully he'll take the challenge and do it. Okay, so let me just read my notes here. I'm not going to do this in order. And and I'm going to report on things such as if I get an agent to look at it, I'll talk about that. I'll talk about rejection letters. So if I get a rejection letter, I'll share that with you. So let me start with this idea and just kind of walk you through what I'm doing in this first video. So every day I go for a hike, and this is for those of you who've been following me or who know me. You know I live in Utah, and I live really close to the mountains, and so this is just a few minutes away from my house. This is about 5 minutes away right here, and these are the places that I hike every single day. Sometimes during the winter I have to go to the park if it's snowing too hard and I can't get up the canyon. But and this is my dog Pooch. But the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because this is where I get my inspiration. This is where my head is clear. I almost think because I feel like I have ADD, and I know I do. And the internet hasn't helped that at all, and Facebook definitely hasn't helped that, and Twitter and all that stuff. So getting out of the studio is a huge part of my process for creativity. It's just too hard for me to create and to think of things here. I have to be doing something and exercising to get my brain clear enough to just focus on one idea at a time. This is a crappy picture of a rattlesnake right here. But anyway, when I'm out in nature, that's when the ideas flow. Every now and then I get to take somebody special. This is Donato Giancola, who I get to take on a hike one time. He's a very famous illustrator. You should look him up. And so I was hiking again. This was about 3 months ago. And this idea just kind of popped into my mind. And the idea was actually about a little girl. And one of the reasons for that is, I don't know why, but I never got to have a girl. I've got 3 boys, and 2 of them are older now. My youngest is going to be 16 this next month in May. And I'm just going to bring down SVS. Now, you're going to think that this is a plug right now, but it's not. But it kind of is, but not. And this image right here of this little bear and girl is actually one of the main images of the story. So I wrote the story, and then one thing that I really like to do, and I like to talk because I share information and I share advice and strategy, and this is something that I've tried to do for a long time, but Jake Parker has actually reinforced this even more. And also Lee White, who's working with us at SVS, reinforced this as well. And that is to try to get more, because, it's hard enough to become an artist and to make a living being an artist, So anytime you can maximize and use your time to double dip, triple dip, to try to make more income, to support your family, to support you, that's really helpful. So I needed an image to work on for this mixed media class that I was doing, and I thought I'll combine 2. I'll take an image from the book, and I'll use it to make a class on mixed media, so it's digital and watercolor, because that's the style that I want to work on in this book. But also I'll be able to use it for the book, and some people might be thinking, well, are you allowed to do that? Well, I'm not under contract right now, so I think it's okay, but I don't know if it's okay. It'll probably be okay for some editors or for some publishers, and some might shy away from that a little bit. I've talked to some editors, I've talked to agents, and they, from what I can tell, from what they have told me, is that they don't think it's a problem if you show 1 or 2 images from your book. If you showed the whole thing, that could probably be a problem. So unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see everything that I'm working on. I'll probably show you some sketches and things like that, but I'm not going to be able to show you finished artwork on the whole thing, especially since I'm not going to do finished artwork unless I'm able to sell it. But I will show you my thumbnails, sketches, and different things like that in another video, and the ideas that I'm working on. So anyway, that's why you're seeing it in the mixed media class right there. And so I've already used it there. That's my main image. And from there, I'm going to work on more. Another thing is that you might be tempted to think that this is really easy for me because I'm already an illustrator and I've illustrated, 30 books. And so, well, this is like a no-brainer. Well, if Will decides that he's going to write and illustrate a children's book, of course it's going to get published. Let me just tell you a little bit about the publishing industry. So, yes, I have illustrated books for other people. And in fact, one other thing that I wanted to tell you is that I've actually turned down the last 4 book offers that I've been given. And I've been illustrating for other people, and I still love to illustrate for other authors. But the last 4 book offers that I got, I turned down. The first 2 because they weren't offering enough money. The second one I turned down because it was the wrong story for me. I just felt like it just didn't fit my style, and that it would be, and I really feel it's a mistake to take on work that you're not really super excited about. And that's a whole nother topic that we could get into. Sometimes you can get excited about something that you're maybe not that excited about. So I think it's really helpful to weigh out your options and to not make a decision right away. Maybe if you get asked to do a book, see if you can take a day or 2 to kind of think about it, go for a hike or something, and think a lot about it. There have been books that on first glance that I've read that I wasn't excited about. And then I started thinking of different ways to illustrate them and different ideas for specific illustrations that would be really fun that weren't apparent when I first read it. So that's why I think you can definitely get excited about something that might not hit you right off the bat. But I do kind of feel like most of the time, if you're reading a manuscript and it's not resonating with you, there's probably a reason. So that was the third one. And then the fourth one happened just this last week with a book that I just felt, I felt like the end didn't go anywhere. Like it would start out really good, and then it just didn't finish strong. And I'm at a point where I really want to spend the time that I have on really good projects. And if I'm not feeling it, financially I can afford to turn it down, which is a real luxury. I realize that, and I'm not looking a gift horse in the mouth. I hope I'm trying to be really pragmatic about it and realistic, and just say it wasn't for me. I'm sure someone else will do it, and I'm sure someone else will have a great time with it. But that one wasn't for me. So I'll share another thing with you. It's always been since I started illustrating children's books, it's been a dream to write and illustrate my own, and that's never happened. I've been close twice, once with a smaller publisher and once with Scholastic, and I thought we had a book sold. The art director, the editor loved the book, and was really excited about it, and then that lasted for about a week, and then the editor got cold feet, and everything changed and flipped, and they just decided not to. So that was really disappointing. I've realized that I just need to spend time doing this. So even though I'm not the best writer, I feel like I can tell a pretty good story. But it's not going to be easy for me to just say, hey, I'm going to write and illustrate a book and talk to all the people that I've worked with over the years and say, you need to publish this. It doesn't work that way. It does make it easier for me to submit it. It does make it easier for me to get it in front of people because I know people that will look at it. So I have a lot of different places a lot of different art directors and editors that I can say, hey, will you take a look at this? I can send it to them, and I know they'll look at it. Some agents that I know that will look at it, and that's really helpful. How does that help you? Well, I think that this is something that we talk about in our children's book class. Let me just show you that real quick. So let me scrolling down here. We've got this children's book class. This is another shameless plug. I'm sorry. But we go over all this in there. Too much for me to tell you in this video, but I can tell you that there are definite ways to go about it. One is going to SCBWI conferences and meeting the editors that are there. That's how I've met a lot of the people that I know, is from those conferences. And that's super important to, when you meet somebody at one of those, is to get their contact information and find out their Twitter and find out everything you can about them. Don't lose that name, and try to stay in touch with your work, and don't be annoying, don't be a pest. We talk about this in the class too. There's definitely ways that you can get your work seen and get stuff in front of these people. But the best way, probably, if you're going to write and illustrate, is to find an agent. We talk about that in the class. In fact, we have a guest agent who was a guest speaker in the class, Stephen Frazier, and a very well respected and very well known agent. And so he gives a lot of advice too on how to submit, how to prepare a query letter, and get things to a point where an agent will look at you. It's an amazing world. The children's book world is an amazing world, and I've talked about this before on the blog. One of the reasons for that is that it's one of the few areas in illustration where the editors respect the artists, both the author and the illustrator. The art directors respect the authors and illustrators, and they really try to have a hands-off approach. They do not over art direct you, at least at the higher levels when you're dealing with picture books. At the lower levels, when you're dealing with educational assignments for textbooks and things like that, and for online learning, it can be very over heavily handedly art directed. But in the higher levels, it's not. And that's one thing. A lot of people, I think, they have this idea that that children's books are what am I trying to say? That children's books are, just like cute kidsy kind of stuff. But if you look at what is actually being done in the world of children's books, it's all over the place. There are adult children's books. There are wordless picture books. There's picture books for younger ages, all the way up to the older ages, and everything in between. So you can usually find something that you're interested in doing. And the coolest thing about doing a picture book is it's like when it's done, it's like a little printed book of just your work. It's like a portfolio of your work, which is one of the coolest things in the world to get. Plus, you get paid for it. Plus, if it does really well, you can do really well. Maybe on one of these vlogs, I'll talk about what it probably means to win a Caldecott medal and how that helps you financially. Also, there's plenty of other awards that you can win, and how that can help you financially. That's another thing we talk about in the children's book class. Anyway, I'm going to end it for this one, but check back with my progress along the way, and hopefully a crazy guy like me can get a children's book published.